Not to mention what's been going over in Dolton now for months. We can't even go in there and get our permits and stuff in the room. We had to sit in something small as a jail cell, which I hope somebody gets real familiar with real soon.
In September, even before the judge's order, but they cannot fire her because she is an elected official.
After 2 trials and guilty verdicts on 3 of 4 total charges against her, will Marilyn Mosby face time in prison?
Peterson's backseat personal police ride, she decides to have a little talk with Jesus.
He was helping these black men who was teaming up with the enemy, who were disrespecting the women, the black women.
I'm gonna ask y'all to give me a minute.
If I wasn't looking my degree, I've got to check it way to me. I've got to read what you're loving. If I wanna answer to me, I am woman. Don't say hey, but they won't look up at me. That is my motherfucking dollar. But they won't look up at me. Those phones are fake, those are so important. Cause they won't look up at me. You a boss, a scholar, community dollar. But they won't look up at me.
Good people, thank you for stopping by on another edition of Independent Mail. Previously this week, I released a video regarding DEI and why it was time for it to go. Much like the previous iteration of affirmative action, it's run its course. And I happen to blame both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. In that video, I used about 2 or 3 clips to demonstrate some things. I used some clips from 45, O'Shea Duke Jackson, and the Pat McAfee show to illustrate that when we, as humans, divvy out resources, that we tend to give preferences to those that we have connections with. These are not always nefarious or racial connections. Sometimes it's something as simple as I went to church with this guy, or I played golf with your dad, or you and I are in the same fraternity. These are a plethora of connections that oftentimes comes into play when we're divvying out resources such as education and employment. So to remedy something that's normal, to remedy human nature when divvying out these resources, the Democrats or liberals had a well-intended policy in affirmative action and DEI, okay? The problem with it, in some instances, you had some institutions that lowered standards in order to have more inclusion. You can't do that because once you alter standards, that open the door for Republicans to then always question qualifications. So now anything associated with affirmative action or DEI automatically meant people weren't qualified. So any accomplishment were being belittled and demeaned by everyone of color and women. If I didn't like you, you're a DEI hire. You're a DEI admission. If a company makes a mistake and messes up, if I can go in your company profile anywhere and see that you participate with any kind of DEI or inclusion programs, that was the reason for the company mess up. Okay, let's look at Boeing, the airline that has wheels falling off, doors blowing out, noses diving down, that company. Go check out that board. Very DEI limited, but you don't see Republicans jumping on them. Maersk, the shipping conglomerate, the one that's responsible for the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore being in the water, because their executive board, which in that video I show you, which is very DEI limited, there's one guy of maybe Mideastern descent and 2 or 3 women sprinkled about 14 to 16 executive board members that all decided to skirt regulations which helped contribute to this accident. But you don't see Republicans pointing the finger at that board. You'll see them trying to find a connection with another company surrounded by Maersk to point out DEI. And so I get it. It's a great strategy that the Dems use. I'm sorry, that the Republicans use. Democrats open the door by some institutions changing or lowering standards. So now it is what it is. Everybody and everything is a DEI question or whatever. So now it's time for it to go. Now, aside from there being a little bit of overreach in some of these institutions about lowering standards, we'll have to admit that some actors, some people that quote unquote fit the bill of inclusion have not given some of these programs the best light, i.e. the collage of ladies that we had at the beginning of this video, the independent city girls. Okay, a lot of them were very quick to tout how they were the first of something. They were the first Black woman to be DEA of Fulton County. They were the first Black woman to be a judge of Douglas County. They were the first Black woman to be mayor of the city of the village of Dolton. They were very quick to tout these things, but then they didn't carry out the responsibility, the honor of those precedented positions. What did they do? They did a plethora of things, from being incompetent to only knowing how to charge people with RICO charges, to having extra, let's say, activities, extracurricular activities with staff members, not just with Fani Willis, but with Congress Lady Natalie Hall here in Fulton County, things that we associate with men in leadership, not being able to keep it in their pants, to downright scams and theft, as Mayor Henyard is accused of. So they didn't help this out at all. This example of lousy liberal lady leadership did not help at all. And they've been all over the news for the last year and a half, and it's been for their own doing. And they've cost a lot of taxpayers a lot of money, and they've cost the community reputational capital. But hopefully here comes Jason House in the house to at least save the village of Dolton from the super mayor. Miss Tiffany Henyard. So let's check out a recent article from the Chicago Tribune, I believe, where I think this weekend there was like an official announcement with the other trustees of their reelection bids for trustee, as well as Mr. House stepping out and being like, yo, I'm challenging your girl. So let's check out the article right quick.
Dolton former and current elected officials announce campaigns against Tiffany Henyard.
Henyard.
After Tiffany Henyard was elected to office in 2021, Nicole Scott was hopeful and excited to work with the new Dolton mayor to expand her food pantry to provide an array of supports for local residents. The idea was to bring a myriad of services for the community, like make it a community hub, Scott said. For years later, Scott says she has not been able to expand Free Indeed Market due to pushback from Henyard, and on Sunday she hosted the campaign kickoff for those hoping to oust her in the food pantry's parking lot. I just want people in office that are going to help with serving the community, Scott said. About 70 people came to Scott's unassuming strip mall property to support the beginning of a joint campaign team of current and former Dolton elected officials hoping to win election on a platform drawing contrast to Henyard's controversial leadership. Trustee Jason House, who became an outspoken advocate for launching an investigation into Henyard's spending of village tax dollars, formally announced his run for mayor. Former trustee Edward Steve, who lost a bid for re-election last year, is running for trustee, and incumbent trustees Kiana Belcher and Brittany Norwood and village clerk Allison Key will seek re-election.
All right, ladies.
Ushering in a new era of transparency and accountability was the main goal emphasized repeatedly by the office seeker Sunday. While those standing at the podium in front of a 2025 Clean House backdrop avoided directly naming Henyard, they expressed anger over what they saw as her administration's betrayal of the public's trust through mismanaging village funds. Henyard did not respond to requests for comment. "We've been locked out, we've been lied to, we've been stolen from as a community by the current mayor and administration," Trustee Belcher told the crowd. "And this must stop. With Henyard drawing heavy criticism on social media for suspected corruption, the team of 5 politicians became outspoken opponents of the mayor and familiar allies to many of the concerned residents who pack the village hall at every monthly meeting. Those in attendance Sunday included families with small children as well as seniors sitting in plastic chairs on the pavement and under the storefront. Also present were officials including Dolton trustee Tammy Brown, who was not up for re-election, and Thornton Township trustee Chris Gonzalez, as well as members of the Village Firefighters Union. While one person drove out to the event in protest, shouting out of a car window during speeches, peace was restored by the time House spoke about his mayoral campaign. The crowd erupted into cheers, people stood to clap, and one person honked a car horn. While House expressed his nerves for public speaking, he said as mayor he would unveil the secrets of the village's financial state and create an environment that is welcoming to small businesses. "We're going to respect the viewpoints of different people," House said. "We're going to have a vision that's not based on self-promotion or political ambiguity. It's going to be a vision that's around unity for everybody in our town." He said his priorities if elected include public safety reform, connecting police officers more closely with community members, as well as crafting balanced budgets that put the village on a fiscally responsible track.
Tough.
"We're going to bring all of our audits current," House said. "And no more fancy flights, no more first-class trips, no more security detail," referencing questioned trips made by village officials that led to a federal subpoena. House said he understands his administration would likely inherit a litany of lawsuits filed against the village over several years. Dolton owes $33.5 million for judgment in a fatal police chase lawsuit, and village funds were recently frozen due to a failure to pay a $220,000 settlement in a whistleblower lawsuit. Those attending the campaign kickoff, lining up for a provided barbecue buffet tailgate after the speeches, expressed optimism about the candidates and their message of rebuilding trust in village government. However, Kimberly Haynes, who has lived in Dolton for close to 30 years, said what she believes has changed most is that residents are paying more attention to their government than ever. "What we'll have is more awareness," Haynes said. Tiffany slid in there, and the trustees believed she was going to work with them. "They have a reason to try and do better, and the village is going to be more in tune with what they do." Ostevans at ChicagoTribune.com.
Nice. 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 Now, one thing in that article that they pointed out is that when Mr. House wins the election next year, when Mr. House becomes mayor House, and those trustees get reelected, they are for a long time going to have to dig out some serious fiscal issues, and a lot of it's going to be from this previous administration, and a lot of, and like she said, a litany of lawsuits. You got the firefighters thing going on. It's too many to try to remember. And the reason I bring that up, because number one, they said it in the article, but number two, I said in some previous videos and covering Ms. Henyard that as soon as she was out of there and there was a new administration, I wanted to purchase a municipal bond in order to help the city, the village of Dolton, get back on their feet. Because like she said, it's going to be a litany of lawsuits. They just are. And there are only so many citizens there that make so much money, and there's only so much tax revenue they're going to be able to get. So for that reason, I want to get a bond, a municipal bond for them, the last X amount of years or whatever, to lend to help dig out that situation. Because I have faith in that community. Another thing they said at the end of that article was a lady that lived there for 30 years said one of the things that was different is that everybody around there is much more involved and paying a whole lot more attention at what's going on. And I'm gonna wrap it up with this. I am not one that'll sit here in front of one of these cameras and be like, women shouldn't be in leadership. I won't say that. The thing I push back on, though, is some of the stuff we got fed of how much better leaders women would be. oh, there'd be no scandals, there'd be no wars, stop it. Okay. They're humans just like men are, as we see. They're corrupt, they could become incompetent, they could still cheat, everything else that guys do. So my thing is, when we're picking leadership, whether it be for government, for a school, for church, pulpit, whatever, let's select the best person for the job. Let's not get sucked into charisma and swag. Okay. I know the young Ice Cube said gangsters make the world go round. They don't. Nerds do. And I'm sure the old Ice Cube agree with that right now. The Bill Gates, the Elon Musk, the Bezos, those guys make the world go round. The people at CrowdStrike, participants of D.E.I, they make the world go round, as you see from a week or so ago. All right. So instead of picking the flashiest person, the person with the best social media posts, how about picking the person that'll show up to the meeting in a suit every time? The person that works at a bank, the person that knows how to manage funds and be around funds without being tempted to mess with the funds. Somebody like Jason House. All right, guys, until next time, peace. It's stay informed. Oh yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about Jason House being in the house. And also let me know what you guys think about the collage of ladies at the beginning of the video and what they've actually done for the reputation of D.E.I. All right, now to next time, peace. Stay informed.